It's just awful what happened to the Wilsons.
They own the ranch that's just 3 miles down the road.
Well, Edna died last year of cancer, and then 3 months later, Stan had a stroke and died.
And now their kids are running around wondering what to do. And it looks like they're going to sell it off to some developers, and they're going to put in a subdivision.
No, Edna and Stan would hate that. They always wanted to keep that ranch in the family.
Well, they didn't have a plan.
We probably all know someone who has faced this situation, whether it's our own family, friends, acquaintances, neighbors. I'm Bart Eleveld, Extension Economist with the Oregon State University Extension Service. This DVD is a condensed version of a workshop series offered in the winter of 2008. This project was funded by USDA's Risk Management Agency and involved the cooperation of Oregon State University's Extension Service, the Austin Family Business Program, the Oregon Cattlemen's Association, and the video itself was produced by Oregon State University's College of Forestry Media Center. The layout of this DVD is based on a planning process, starting with the first recognition of a problem to be solved, going through working with a team of experts, and finally with the actual implementation of a succession plan that is clear to all the family members involved. Succession is the transfer of a ranch's ownership, management, and control from one generation to the next. Usually that's within a family, but not necessarily. Sometimes there are outside people involved as well. Succession planning is greater than and actually includes estate planning. Estate planning generally involves the drafting of legal documents that transfer ownership of property from one generation to the next when the first generation dies. Succession planning, on the other hand, involves planning for the income needs of the senior generation as it lives out the last 20 or 30 years of its life, as well as the incoming generation that needs to operate the ranch. In the succession planning process, communication is key. Both death and the financial needs of old age are difficult things for both older and younger generation to anticipate and discuss. Varying and perhaps conflicting goals and objectives of the many parties involved can lead to disagreements, quarrels, and hurt feelings if communication is not open and respectful. This DVD is designed to be used in two possible ways. It can be used as a framework for a moderated workshop given by educators or succession planning professionals, or you can consider it a condensed version of the workshop to be used for self-study. We'll refer from time to time to activities, documents, and background materials. Some will be available on this DVD itself and can be downloaded or printed by putting the DVD into a computer equipped with a DVD-ROM or DVD-RW drive. Other information will be available on the succession planning website shown on the screen. This website includes recordings of the live workshop presentations that were given in 2008, as well as their PowerPoint outlines in printable form. You've already met the senior generation of our case study ranching family, the Barlows. Although the transfer of the ranch to the next generation has been on their mind for some time, they don't have a plan. But they're lucky in a sense. The untimely death of the neighbors, the Wilsons, the tragic consequences for their offspring, and the apparent demise of the Wilson family ranch have alerted Ray and Reba to the need to do something soon. We'll meet the other family members later, but let's listen to Ray and Reba and see what they hope for the future of their ranch and their family.
I grew up on this ranch. My father inherited it from his father, who settled here in 1910. My dad passed away in 1980 and I took over. And right now we have about 800 acres of cropland, 3,000 or 4,000 acres of private rangeland, and 800 head of cattle. We grow alfalfa, wheat, and grass, mostly to feed our own herd. We don't have any retirement assets. This ranch is our retirement plan. You know, we got a little place over on the beach, which Reba inherited from her parents, and we do like to go there once in a while and get away, but we don't want to live there. We really like being on the ranch, and we hope that it can stay in the family and it'll get handed down to the next generation like it's been handed down for nearly 100 years.
Well, Ray and I met in high school. He was so shy, but he was so handsome. And he was so shy, he came up to me wanting to ask me out, and he couldn't get the words out, and he almost fell over. Well, he finally asked me out to the movies, and, well, I went, and we've been together ever since.
We were going to get married in '64, but, well, I got drafted, and so we decided we'd wait until after I got back. But we got married in '67.
Yeah, we got married in the little Methodist church down the road there, and then we went on our honeymoon to Yosemite.
Well, it weren't much of a honeymoon. We only had 5 days until I had to come back to the ranch for the first cutting of the alfalfa. We drove 4 of the 5 days, but we were together, and that was nice. I promised Reba that we'd have a proper honeymoon after things settled down on the ranch. Well, she's still waiting.
Well, maybe after we retire.
Right after we got married, I went to work for my dad on the ranch, and Reba, well, she finished her school and she went to work as a teacher.
I was a full-time teacher, but there was just so much work to do on the ranch that I cut back and I became a half-time teacher and then a substitute, well, just to keep a little bit of extra money coming in.
The ranch did pretty well over the years. It brought in enough money to keep the family going, but there wasn't a whole lot of extra money. I always told Dad, that we ought to expand, grow more in different kinds of crops, bring in some more cattle, and maybe buy a combine. Dad was a very stubborn man.
He was for sure that.
We raised 2 kids on this ranch.
We have 3 children, Ray.
We raised 3 children on this ranch. 2 wonderful human beings and 1 ungrateful little jerk.
Ray?
I'm sorry. Anyway, we love this ranch, and we want it to continue to be a ranch, and we'd like to hand it down to our kids, but we don't want it sold or developed.
We would like to see the ranch stay in the family, and it's here for our kids and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren, and they'll know the history of the ranch, and they'll value it and appreciate it. Well, and frankly, I don't want the government getting a large chunk of it. I'd like to keep it in the family, and I think about that, and, well, I just stay awake at night sometimes worrying about it.
Yeah, and I guess to keep things equal, we're going to have to divide our estate up 2 ways when we die.
3 ways, Ray.
Well, the kids are so different. I mean, will they want to continue running the ranch, or will they just cash it out?
I mean, I just can't stand the thought of this ranch being turned into a subdivision or a shopping mall.
We really want it to be a family legacy.
Please take a moment for each of the owners to articulate the values and goals that they have for the succession of their farm or ranch. What would you like to see happen in the next 10, 20, and 30 years? What are the major challenges that stand in the way? What are your immediate goals? Share your goals with the other owners and try to merge them into a consensus statement that best represents you both or all. Later on, it may be useful to do a similar exercise with the next generation in the line of succession. The first step in the succession planning process is for all parties to evaluate what they need, expect, and want from the ranch. Now let's listen to what the next generation of Barlows is thinking.
Yeah, my name is Ray Barlow Jr. Some people call me RJ. Some call me Rage. I've been working on the ranch since I first learned to walk, I guess. I work the fields, work the cattle, do repairs, whatever needs to be done. My dad has been involving me in the business side of the ranch more and more in the last few years. I hope to take over for him when he retires. My wife and I divorced recently. I don't think she really liked the ranching life very much. My kids love it though, yeah. My oldest son, he's only 14, but I mean, he does a man's work. I can hardly keep up with him some days. My 13-year-old daughter, she's more into sports and art. I think she likes the ranch, but I know she really wants to, move into town and be a teacher when she grows up. My 10-year-old, well, currently he wants to be either an astronaut, the president, or a NASCAR driver. But who knows? Maybe he'll start to like ranching when he gets older. I hope so. I can really see him and his older brother running this place after I'm gone.
I'm Rita Anderson, and this is my husband, Ron. I grew up here on the ranch, but now Ron and I live in town with our 2 kids. I really love it here. It's so relaxing and peaceful. I like to just walk around and breathe in the clean air. Our kids love it here too. In the winter when it snows, they love to go sledding and build snowmen, and then in the summer they go horseback riding and swimming.
Yeah, Rita's always talking about the ranch and how much she enjoyed growing up here. I like it too. It's a nice break from town. It's easy to get away and decompress from work a little bit.
And Dad is always trying to get Ron to quit the banking business, move us up here, and help run the ranch. But I don't think Ron likes all the hard work.
Well, hey, that's not true. I love hard work.
Well, then how come when Dad asked you to help Brandon castrate the cattle, you wouldn't do it?
I'm a vegetarian.
Jeez.
What?
Anyway, I'm a little hesitant about this whole succession planning process. First of all, I don't want to think about Mom and Dad dying. I feel like if we talk about it, then it's going to happen. And I know it's going to happen someday, but I really just don't want to think about it right now. The other thing is, I don't get along with my brother. Ray Jr., I mean. I haven't seen Roy in so long. I don't know how we get along. But Ray and I have never seen eye to eye. When we were little, he used to bully me constantly. Then as we got older, he'd criticize every little thing I did. Truth is, I just wanted to get away from here when I was younger. But now I feel drawn back. I really hope that someday that Ron and I can build a home on the ranch and live here. But I don't know if I can do that if Ray's here running the show.
Let me be honest with you. I hated living on that ranch. The pace is just too slow. There was too much work that involved touching large animals in their personal areas and cleaning up what came out of those same areas. I wanted out. So as soon as I graduated from high school, I split. I always wanted to be an actor. Dad never understood that. So I moved to New York City. I changed my name from Roy Barlow to River Bannon, and I started auditioning. Didn't go too well. I don't think the Philistines in the New York acting community were ready for my unique talents. So I became a businessman. I've been involved in some big-time projects over the last 15 years. Legit stuff. Not get-rich-quick schemes like my sister says. Although there's nothing wrong with getting rich quick, right? I haven't talked to anyone in my family for a long time. I borrowed money from all of them that I couldn't pay back, and, it caused some tension. So I figured it was just best to stay away. But now that Mom and Dad are trying to figure out what to do with the ranch after they die, I want to be there. I'm not going to be shut out of my rightful inheritance. I'm a part of the family too, and I deserve my share. Plus, I need the money. I figure 1/3 of that place should bring some serious coin.
Let's formulate this evaluation. We want each of the ranch's owners to rate the ranch property on the heirloom scale. Each owner, usually spouses, should fill out the sheet individually without discussing it first with each other. Rate the ranch and its assets on a scale of 1 equals my property is one of the financial assets in my portfolio and nothing more, to 10, My property is a priceless family heirloom to be protected at all costs. Whatever your rating, write a few short statements that describe why you feel this rating applies to the ranch. If your ranch is a large or complex operation with several separable parts, you may want to do a form for each distinct part. For example, you might have a timber operation or a non-ranch investment or business in addition to the main ranching operation. Later, we'll ask the owners to share your ratings and try to synthesize a common statement. We've already seen that not all family members are necessarily in agreement on the values and goals for succession. Ray and Reba are about to come face to face with that reality.
Okay, and we want to put away enough money so that if we need special care, we can stay here on the ranch rather than going into a nursing home.
Now, why are we writing this down again?
Because somebody once told me that if you write it down, it happens. If you don't write it down, then you forget about it.
Well, I guess we're going to have to explain all this stuff to the kids, huh?
Well, we could call a family meeting. Now, who could that be?
Well, how should I know? I'll get it.
Hi, Dad. How are you?
Who was it?
Trick-or-treaters. There's a kid out there dressed as my worst nightmare.
Ray, it's August 5th.
Hi, Mom.
Oh, Roy! It's been such a... Oh, it's so good to see you. Oh, Ray, it's Roy.
Really? Well, I'm off to bed.
Ray Barlow, you come out here and say hello to your son.
Ask him where my money is.
Oh, don't mind him. You know how he gets.
Oh, I know. This is my fiance, Rhonda.
Oh, it's so good to meet you, Rhonda. Well, come on in. Come on in.
Now might be a good time to fill you in on some of the details about the Barlow Ranch. They have 800 cows in a cow-calf operation. They have 800 acres of irrigated cropland, of which 400 acres are in alfalfa hay, 300 acres in grass hay, 100 acres of winter wheat in rotation, 100 acres of irrigated pasture, 3,500 acres of deeded rangeland, and the balance of the grazing comes from public land allotments. There are also some non-ranching assets. There's a property on the coast with a house and some land that Reba inherited from her parents. Secondly, there's about 200 acres of woodland, creeks, and wetlands on the home ranch. There are two parts to this financial inventory, or taking stock, to answer the question of what is the legacy. First, we'll look at the balance sheet for the ranch operation. Second, we'll look at the income and cash flow it generates to see if it can meet the future cash needs, not just for Ray and Reba's retirement, but also to provide a sufficient income for Ray Jr. and his family, keeping in the back of our minds the possibility of his son also coming into the ranching operation in 10 years or so. The total assets of the ranch are $4,200,000. There are liabilities of $1.3 million, leaving a net worth or equity of $2.9 million. This gives a debt-to-asset ratio of almost 32%. That means that for every dollar of assets owned by the ranch, 30 cents is debt owed to outside creditors. We can see the ranch is solvent. There's quite a bit of equity. But what about income? The ranch generates a gross income of over $400,000. Cash expenses are $320,000, and there's a depreciation of $50,000 per year, leaving a net income or profit of $38,000. Now, depreciation is not a cash expense, so the net cash income is $88,000 per year. Both Ray and Reba have begun drawing Social Security payments, so there's a non-ranch income of $23,500. Subtracted from that is family living expenses of $48,000 per year and income and Social Security taxes of a little over $7,000 per year. When all those numbers are balanced out, there's actually a cash deficit of about $10,000 per year on this ranching operation. That means that they're probably not really replacing all of the equipment that's depreciating to the tune of $50,000 per year. So over the long run, they're actually falling behind in terms of reinvestment in their ranch. We've already seen that the ranch is profitable. It does provide a positive net income, but the rate of return on ranch assets is only about 2%. We can easily see that there's not enough income for 3 generations to coexist on this ranch. We tried another analysis where we increased the size of the operation by 50%, basically expanding the cropland with rented acreage and increasing the size of the cattle herd. Even this expansion doesn't provide enough income by itself to solve the problem. Ray and Reba are going to have to find other solutions to generate the cash they need to provide income in retirement, as well as to support the incoming generations as they run the ranch. In the expanded ranch, income increases to over $600,000. Cash expenses also go up proportionally to $514,000. And we've increased depreciation to $65,000 on the assumption that more investment in machinery and equipment will be necessary. But the net result is that net income is still only $54,000. Net cash income, $120,000. We've increased the non-ranch income a little bit on the assumption that the third generation probably won't be full-time immediately. There'll be some part-time off-ranch work. So that has gone from $23,500 to $33,500. But with that third generation, the family living expense will also increase to $62,000. We're now adding 3 generations to be supported by this ranch. Income and Social Security taxes go up with the higher income, and when all is said and done, the cash deficit in this case increases to almost $40,000 per year. So even though the rate of return on ranch assets, a measure of profitability, has gone up to almost 3%, we can see there still isn't enough cash flow being generated by this ranch to take care of all the needs that the family has in 3 generations. Ray and Reba need to find some other way to finance their retirement, particularly with the specter of high health care costs, as well as the possibility for needing long-term care. Compiling a balance sheet is a fairly technical assignment, as we've seen, but now it's your turn. Maybe you already have one from your lender or an accountant. If so, congratulations. Your job on this next part will be easier. Take the time to fill out the rough balance sheet form. For this activity, we are asking you to list the names of the assets and liabilities that comprise your ranch. Assign rough estimates of value if you can. Later, when you have more time, use the spreadsheet to gain a more detailed and accurate inventory of your financial position. You know, putting your succession planning team together is a lot like the way a professional football team is organized. Members of the senior generation are the football team owners. All active family members are the football team. In our analogy, the owners may or may not still be active players too. What about spouses and significant others? Are they players, spectators, cheerleaders, water boys or girls? All football teams have a staff of coaches to advise and help direct the play. Usually the owners tell them what their long-term objectives are. In football, there are offensive, defensive, special teams, quarterback coaches, etc. Our coaches are the succession planning experts or advisors that help the family or team find a succession strategy. This could include attorneys, CPAs, investment advisors, and so on. The coaches formulate a strategy that will win the game and allow the owners and the team to meet their objectives. Do the coaches all work independently? You would hope not. You would hope they're coordinating and communicating with each other as well as with the team and owners. And usually there's a head coach who takes the lead. Who actually calls the plays? Is it the coaches? The owners? Maybe a wily veteran quarterback, one of the players, gets to do part of it. Ultimately, the way your football team works will be up to each family. Our next
Everybody a chance to
Everyone is going to get a chance to talk. Just be calm and let us get on with this.
You're the one who started yelling.
Would you please take your hat off? I raised you better than that.
Yeah, have some respect. Come on.
You are not the one to talk about.
She's got
Every day we are involved in running a I'm just saying I should be in charge of the meeting, that's all.
Why, so you can push everyone around?
Listen, Missy, if you hadn't run off and married that city boy, maybe you could be in charge.
Why don't you lay off, Hoss?
Oh, you want to start something, city boy?
Hey, there's nothing wrong with the city.
Hey, I don't need your help. And where the hell's my money?
So, how is it you've managed to stay on the farm here all these years?
Well, I like it here.
I thought you had some sort of arranged marriage or something.
Oh, come on, everybody. Listen. They can't listen. A room full of full-grown adults and they just can't listen. Every time this gang gets together, they sound like they're in middle school.
Well, pound on the table.
Oh, I think I'm gonna pound on some heads.
Well, that's a good question, Roy.
River.
Sorry.
Oh,
River.
no, it's not that bad.
Where's our money?
Vocal.
Sound like a bunch of kids.
I was saving this for later, but now seems like as good a time as any. I have something for all of you that's better than money. Ideas. I know you're trying to figure out what to do with the ranch after Mom and Dad die. Well, the truth is I'm here to rescue you all from this process. I have a plan. Think theme park. I'm talking Ranch World. There'll be rides, roller coasters, tilt-a-whirls, and whatnot, plus the authentic ranch experience. You can milk a cow, bale hay. There'll be a petting zoo and mysterious crop circles. This will be the Ranch House of Horrors. We're gonna tell people it was built on an Indian burial ground.
That is the stupidest thing I have ever heard.
Why?
Oh, no, he's right, Roy. How can you come back after all of these years and suggest something so awful?
Hey, I don't know. I think maybe he's onto something.
Oh, shut up, city boy.
Oh, for God's sakes, you don't want to come here from sick leave.
Ray Jr., Rita, and Roy have no experience separating their adult siblings from the relationships of early childhood. Even though they are grown and lead separate lives of responsibility, their strongest memories are when they lived together when they were young. In fact, both the parents and the siblings do not even know the adult Roy. Even parents can be stuck in the past when viewing their own children, not realizing that they've moved away from the caterpillar stage of that awkward adolescence. Spouses and would-be spouses come from a different family of origin with different values and norms for interacting. While this would call for greater patience and understanding, sometimes the familiarity of a family meeting.
Now let's see what would have happened if the Barlows had done it right.
Hildegard, the whole region.
You know, the
He
high
took
rise,
over
there's
great care of the ranchers
not
around
space
here.
to
and
grow
that
a
was
whole
just
lot, but-
so
Yeah,
important.
but
so
I
important.
still, you have a balcony, you can always do tomatoes and all.
I mean, I guess it's not for everyone, but it sounds like Jethro's liking it.
Now, do you get out? I mean, can you leave the bank and work? Do you work anywhere in the community?
I don't. I get a chance to go out some to visit some of the customers, but
All right, everybody, let's get started. All right. As you know, Mom and Dad asked me to chair these family meetings because I'm involved in the daily operations of the ranch, and I'm the oldest, I guess. So I just want everyone to know that we want these meetings to be as useful and productive as possible, and that we want to be respectful even though I know we've all had our differences in the past, but I want everyone's ideas to be heard, no matter how unusual those ideas might be. I'd also like everyone that has married into the family, or who might marry into the family someday, know that their opinions are valuable too, and that you're free to give your input as we go along. All right, so is there any old business?
Well, yes, there is, son. There's just one thing. I wanted to let everybody know that we went ahead and purchased that used bale wagon from the Nelson Ranch, you know, the one that we had discussed at the last meeting. It sure cost a lot of money, but Ray and I figured out that because the machine's so efficient that it should more than justify the cost, and we should see a lot more income from the hay crop over the next few years.
Interesting. Well, will it take a lot of time to get the hired hands up to speed on it?
No, actually, Dad and I have both got it pretty well figured out, so we should be able to start training the hands next week.
We've really taken you about as far as we can. The next step is for you to hold family meetings and compare family members' goals and objectives and try to arrive at some consensus. Assemble your coaching staff and make sure they work as a team. If they won't work as a member of a team, fire them and get coaches who will. Once your coaching staff have made their best recommendations for which tools you need to use and you've agreed to them, it's up to you to actually put them into effect. Make the changes, sign the papers, follow the recommendation.
Well, it looks like things are going to work out just fine. We've been consulting with our financial planner, and we got ourselves a plan. And we're going to be putting that in place over the next few months. And I think we're going to reach our goal.
Well, and I can tell you that we're sleeping better at night knowing that the ranch is going to stay in the family.
Now, about that honeymoon?
Okay, the plan's in place. Are you finished? No, a succession plan is never really totally finished. Why? It needs to be monitored to make sure everything is going as planned, that the changes are having the desired effect. Things change, in the industry and in the family. Planning is a river, not a lake. People die or are incapacitated, sometimes out of the usual sequence. Marriages and divorces happen. New family members are born or adopted. While some of these events may be anticipated in the plan, others may change the dynamics of the family so fundamentally that changes may need to be made to the plan of succession. Before we leave you, I want to emphasize that there are a lot of other resources available. See the DVD and website. Okay, now it's up to you. Let's go put that succession plan together. Future generations are counting on you.